Saudi Arabia sits at the center of the world's energy map, its oil reserves granting it immense global influence. The kingdom's decisions in Riyadh can shift petrol prices worldwide, shaping economies and alliances. As the world transitions from a unipolar order dominated by the US to a multipolar landscape, Saudi Arabia faces both challenge and opportunity. Now it must balance its historic security ties with the US against new partnerships with China and Russia. This is not a simple choice, but a strategic dance, hedging its bets to maximize national interests. Saudi Arabia's foreign policy is pragmatic, reflecting its growing confidence as a global player. Its choices on oil sales, currency, and alliances will ripple across the world. The kingdom is charting a careful new course, preserving old ties while forging new ones in a rapidly changing world. The US-Saudi relationship was built on a powerful bargain: oil for security. Saudi Arabia supplied stable oil to global markets, while the US provided military protection, cementing the petrodollar system and the dollar's dominance. This alliance allowed the US to project power in the Middle East, and gave Saudi Arabia the stability to modernize. But the landscape is shifting. The US, now a major oil producer, is less dependent on Middle Eastern oil. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia is pursuing its own economic ambitions, looking eastward as its biggest customers are now in Asia. The old bargain is evolving. Both nations are re-evaluating their partnership. Security ties remain, but economic interests are diverging. The kingdom is adapting, seeking new opportunities while maintaining its vital US connection. The future of this alliance is uncertain, shaped by changing energy markets and shifting global power. China has become Saudi Arabia's largest trading partner and top oil customer, pulling the kingdom's focus eastward. Chinese investment is fueling Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030, building cities and infrastructure without Western political strings. China's role as a diplomatic broker, notably between Saudi Arabia and Iran, has deepened trust. Simultaneously, Saudi-Russian cooperation in OPEC+ has stabilized oil prices, amplifying their joint market power. These partnerships are pragmatic, not ideological, focused on mutual economic gain. Saudi Arabia isn't abandoning the West, it's diversifying, leveraging relationships with all major powers. This multi-aligned approach gives Riyadh flexibility and leverage in a multipolar world. The kingdom can now play great powers off each other, securing better deals and more autonomy. It's a confident strategy, reflecting Saudi Arabia's emergence as a true global player. The BRICS group, now expanded to include the UAE, Egypt, Ethiopia, and Iran, seeks to challenge Western dominance and reform global finance. This expansion marks a significant shift, as more countries from different regions join forces to amplify their collective voice on the world stage. Their growing influence signals a new era in international cooperation, with the potential to reshape the balance of economic power. Central to their agenda is de-dollarization, reducing reliance on the US dollar in trade and finance. This means encouraging the use of local currencies in cross-border transactions and seeking ways to minimize the dollar's grip on global markets. BRICS nations are promoting trade in their own currencies and exploring alternatives to the dollar-centric system. By doing so, they hope to create a more balanced and multipolar financial landscape, where no single currency dominates international trade. For Saudi Arabia, selling oil in currencies like the yuan could reduce vulnerability to US policy and open new economic doors. This move could also strengthen ties with major Asian economies and diversify Saudi Arabia's trading partners. While the dollar remains dominant, the trend is shifting as more countries seek alternatives. The momentum behind de-dollarization is growing, with nations increasingly questioning the risks of overdependence on a single currency. The BRICS bloc is building financial infrastructure to bypass the dollar, including new payment systems and reserve strategies. These efforts aim to create a more resilient and independent financial network for member states. The idea of a BRICS currency is distant, but the push for alternatives is real. Discussions continue about how to deepen cooperation and eventually launch shared financial tools. Saudi Arabia's interest in BRICS reflects its desire for flexibility and influence in a changing world. By aligning with emerging powers, Saudi Arabia is positioning itself to adapt to new global realities and protect its economic interests. The de-dollarization movement is gaining momentum, posing the most significant challenge to U.S. financial power in decades. As more countries join this effort, the global financial system could become more diverse and less predictable. The global order is being reshaped, and Saudi Arabia is watching closely, weighing its options as the world's financial landscape continues to evolve. Saudi Arabia's invitation to join BRICS in 2023 was a pivotal moment, but the kingdom remains deliberately ambiguous. It has neither accepted nor declined, engaging with BRICS while protecting its vital U.S. security relationship. This strategic ambiguity allows Saudi Arabia to benefit from BRICS association, access to new markets and forums, without alienating Washington. The U.S. remains its main arms supplier and security guarantor, with major defense deals under negotiation. Fully embracing BRICS could jeopardize these crucial ties. By delaying a final decision, Saudi Arabia maintains leverage with both the U.S. and BRICS. It signals to Washington that its loyalty can't be taken for granted, and to BRICS that it shares many of their goals. This careful balancing act is the cornerstone of its foreign policy. The kingdom is maximizing its interests in a world of competing powers. The United States is growing increasingly uneasy about Saudi Arabia's recent flirtation with the BRICS alliance, a group that includes major U.S. rivals like China and Russia. As Riyadh deepens its ties with both China and Russia, Washington sees its long-standing influence in the region being challenged in new and unexpected ways. In response, the U.S. has deployed a mix of threats and incentives, imposing tariffs on BRICS members and warning of economic consequences for those who drift too far from the American orbit. At the same time, Washington is offering advanced military technology, lucrative defense contracts, and security guarantees to keep Saudi Arabia close. During President Trump's administration, the U.S. made it clear that if BRICS moved to replace the dollar as the world's reserve currency, steep tariffs and other penalties would follow, signaling just how high the stakes have become. Now, the U.S. is ramping up pressure on Saudi Arabia to choose sides in this global power struggle, making it clear that siding with BRICS could come at a steep economic and political cost for the kingdom. Yet, massive defense and economic deals remain on the table, as Washington hopes to keep Riyadh firmly in its camp. Saudi Arabia, meanwhile, is trying to have it both ways, seeking the security umbrella of the U.S., while also pursuing the economic opportunities that BRICS membership could bring. But Washington's increasingly hardline stance may soon force the kingdom to make a definitive choice. The next moves by Saudi Arabia will reveal whether it can continue balancing these powerful interests, or if it must finally pick a side in this high-stakes geopolitical contest. The world is watching closely as Saudi Arabia navigates this unprecedented test of loyalty, with the outcome likely to reshape alliances and the global balance of power for years to come. A new axis is emerging: India, Russia, and Saudi Arabia, driven by shared interests and a desire for autonomy from the West. India, a BRICS founder and rising power, balances U.S. ties with deepening relations with Russia, especially in energy. U.S. tariffs on Indian imports have pushed New Delhi closer to Moscow, reinforcing its independent foreign policy. Saudi Arabia is a key energy partner for India, and a vital collaborator with Russia in OPEC+. Together, these nations are building new trade routes and infrastructure, bypassing Western-controlled choke points. This pragmatic partnership strengthens Saudi Arabia's position in Asia and the non-Western world. It reduces dependence on any single partner and embeds the kingdom in the world's fastest-growing economies. This quiet axis is reshaping global power, giving Saudi Arabia more options and influence. Saudi Arabia's strategic choices reflect a world in transition from U.S. dominance to multipolar competition. The kingdom is navigating a complex landscape where old alliances are being tested and new partnerships are being formed. Middle powers like the kingdom now shape the rules, leveraging their importance for maximum gain. They are no longer passive players but active shapers of the global order. Oil remains central, but the currency it's traded in is becoming just as crucial. The dominance of the US dollar in oil transactions is being questioned. Even a partial shift to non-dollar oil sales would signal the erosion of the petrodollar and US financial power. This shift could have far-reaching implications for global finance. The US faces a profound challenge, its leadership threatened by BRICS and the hedging of allies like Saudi Arabia. The balance of power is shifting. The most likely future is continued balancing, a US security pact, deeper Asian economic ties, and cautious experiments with non-dollar trade. This balancing act will be delicate and complex. This new reality brings more uncertainty and competition to global markets. Nations will need to adapt quickly to these changes. Saudi Arabia's careful dance will define its role and the world's power structure for years to come. The kingdom's decisions will have lasting impacts. The kingdom stands at the center of a great remaking of the global order. Its actions will shape the future of international relations.